Hey, listen, it is such an incredible honor to be here with you tonight. Patriots.
Yeah.
Patriots. You know, it's amazing. For so long we were asleep. The people were asleep. Well, you can't keep this giant asleep forever, can you?
Nope.
No.
They're not listening, so we're going to make them listen. They're not caring, so we're going to make them care. And it begins like every great movement always begins. It begins with the people of the United States of America. It's our government.
That's right.
It's our time. Now is the time. You know, the American Revolution was the most far-reaching revolution in all of history. Did you know that? Nothing else was even close. Indeed, it was the first time in an awfully long time, if forever, that we didn't simply take one king out of power and replace him with another king. We didn't replace him with an oligarchy. We replaced him with the will of the people.
Right.
Yeah.
What an incredibly progressive way of looking at things. For the first time in all of human history, men and women were freed. And a lamp came on in the hearts of men. It meant something. Lamps of liberty from all across the country were seen, and eventually all around the world. My ancestors looked at those lamps and they said, there's something special about that place. And so they came. I stand here today because of their decision to follow the lamps of liberty.
Yes.
The great problem in this society today is that the lamps of liberty are going out, are they not?
Yes.
You sense it?
Yes.
Millions in this country have begun to feel like strangers in their land. An old America is passing away and a new America is rising to take its place. We recoil from that culture. It doesn't feel right to us as traditionalists. If you believe otherwise, try to be the father of a 6-year-old son and find anything on TV worth watching. If you believe the otherwise, try to be the father of a 2-year-old son and find anything on the radio worth listening to. People are uncertain. They're afraid. They're looking for answers. It's approached every spectrum of our society. Economically, we're uncertain. We're afraid. Constitutionally, we're uncertain. We're afraid. The role in your government that you've always occupied is even uncertain. And we're afraid. But it's our government. And we'll be afraid no more. We'll learn to stand again. We'll learn to walk again. We'll learn to restore that Constitution together, and we will change Washington, D.C., one person at a time.
Amen.
We are engaged in a battle over opposing visions of this country's future. We stand on the right side of that battle. We stand with the Constitution. We recognize its strengths. We stand to restore it and to preserve it. But let me talk to you a second about the great delusion of our time. Here it is. The great delusion of our time is this, that a politician comes into a place just like this. He identifies a problem, and then he says, the government now is here to solve your problems. But when concepts of right and wrong, concepts of problem solving are held only by ambitious politicians, what you have left is a blank check. You're literally piecemeal repealing what our founders gave us. The idea that our problems are our own to solve. The idea that we are strong, independent men and women, that we can make a difference. We can use our communities. We can use our churches. We can move forward without muffling the shot heard around the world. You still believe in that revolution today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You still do? And so we stand together with a majority and make no mistake about this. They will attack us. They'll marginalize us. They'll criticize us. They'll do everything in their power to cut my legs out from under me. It's the only chance they've got to preserve the status quo.
Exactly right. Exactly.
But who in here truly wants to preserve the status quo?
Nobody. Nobody.
How interesting. We conservatives are seeking change. We have to have change. So we stand as parents and teachers and farmers and factory workers and people all across this country, police officers, the millions of Mississippians that feel like strangers in their land. We stand together recognizing that change is possible. But it begins with us. It's not just possible, it's probable. We stand out to speak against those power brokers in Washington, D.C., those that seek to control our lives by an intellectual elite 1,000 miles away. And we remind also those that stand in our way that they are as much the problem as the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe an obligation to restore our Constitution to its original intent. It's no mistake that we find ourselves in this position today, in one of the worst positions in our country's history, because we've allowed politicians to shun that document and to ignore that document. We've allowed radical courts to change the document based not on the will of the people, not on the amendment process, but on judicial fiat. That is no place for a free people. The court has legislature, not for conservatives. It's no coincidence that we are in this position because we have shunned it. But make no mistake, folks, when it comes to the next great movement of your time, it boils down to one simple phrase: we will never compromise on that Constitution again.
You're exactly right.
Now, speaking of compromise, I keep hearing all of these great things about what that word means. Isn't it interesting? And Republicans are very good at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They've been very good at it. Now, bear in mind, the Democrats, when it came to Obamacare, didn't compromise a bit, did they?
No.
More than 51 Republican amendments could have been offered. They weren't considered. And that was okay. The press agreed with that concept. But when Republicans try to stand their ground, all of a sudden we're the problem.
Right.
Name a piece of federal legislation passed in the last 50 years where we compromised that benefited the conservative movement.
Zero.
Interesting. Compromise. It seems in Washington it's a one-way street. The problem with that approach is we're not talking about where to have dinner. I teach my 6-year-old to compromise because he should share his toys. We're not talking about sharing toys here. We're talking about the future of the Republic. And whether it's the Constitution or whether it's our finances, at some point we have to say, enough compromise. How bad is it? Your Internal Revenue Code, we talked about this earlier, your Internal Revenue Code is 3.8 million words long. By any definition, that is force. Government is force. 3.8 million words long. Put it in perspective, it's 4 times greater than everything William Shakespeare ever wrote.
Right.
That's how bad it is. If you've read it, you can understand it, because no one can understand it. But that's your government. That's the force by which it plays, and we, its willing pawns. I don't want to be a pawn any longer. I'm tired of it. Your government, for all its claims of fiscal responsibility, is presently borrowing 46 cents of every dollar just to pay its bills. That's not sustainable. A few days ago, in another compromise, your House and your Senate, they fought for a time. You heard the stories. Government was shut down for a time. And a handful of conservatives fought. They fought. How interesting. In a society like ours, where politicians have been more concerned about re-election and self-preservation, someone stood and fought. Compromise. 18 Republicans said no to the deal in the Senate. Did you know that?
Yes.
Did you know that? But of those 18, Senator Cochran was nowhere to be found.
Figures.
And he never has been. There's more to the American character and to the people of Mississippi than pork.
Right.
This is not the 1970s. It is not the first part of the 1980s. We are $17 trillion in debt.
Yes.
We have to move past the era of pork for the sake of our children. You see, See, they deserve nothing less. That's the legacy we're leaving, though, are we not? A legacy of debt. There was a poll taken earlier this year, and the question was, do you believe you will leave this country in better shape than you found it? One of the great traits about Americans is that we believe that is the case. Generally speaking, we always believe we're going to build a better country up, and we're going to leave a better country to our children. And for the first time in our long republic's history since this polling has begun, Americans said, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to leave a better country to my children. Now, why is that? We're losing hope. We're losing hope because we recognize that $17 trillion is almost unsustainable. We recognize that if you take the unfunded liabilities over the next few years, that number is closer to $90 trillion.
Right.
That's not money we'll have to buy or spend. That's money our grandchildren will. You tell me the morality in that. You tell me the justice in that. We are spending our children's money right now.
Yes.
But they haven't given us permission. Who are we? Who are we to presume that that's okay? Who are we to believe that we're so impatient, that we're so out of touch, that we can unburden those poor men and women a generation from now? And I said a few days ago that the era of big spending must end. I know you want some examples, don't you?
Yes.
That's always the next question. It's always the follow-up. What do you mean? You're not going to shut down the military bases, are you? Of course not. Of course not. Let me tell you some of the things we're going to shut down. In 2011, your United States Congress passed a number of unusual spending projects, to say the least. Incidentally, it also spent $3.6 trillion of your money, even though it only collected $2.2 trillion of your money. What are some of the things I'm going to cut when I get up there? This is in the 2011 budget, okay? What about this one? $100,000 on a video game preservation center.
Oh, brother.
What about $120 million in salaries to dead federal employees? It's so bloated, it's so big, it's so out of control, those 3.8 million words in the IRS code, that they don't even know who they're paying and when. $15.3 million for the bridge to nowhere.
Right.
And it literally was a bridge to nowhere. $764,000 of your money spent on a study of how college students use cell phones.
Oh, brother. Oh, my God.
$55,000 on butter packaging. $606,000 for a study about online dating.
Oh, brother.
$484,000 of your money spent in Arlington, Texas for a pizza restaurant. $147,000 of your money to build a magic museum. You're not going to believe this when I tell you. You believe it?
Believe anything.
Anything I say. $175,000 of your money for a study on the link between cocaine and the mating habits of quail.
Ouch.
You can't. $146 million for federal workers to buy first-class plane tickets.
Ouch.
Now, that's particularly sensitive to me. I'll tell you why. I have represented a lot of large companies in my lifetime and a lot of nice people. None of my clients have ever allowed me to fly first class. Never. I would like to fly first class. So you're telling me that in the private sector, that's a no-no. But if I'm a bureaucrat, it's okay.
Yeah.
That was to the IRS convention to figure out how not to.
Probably
How
so.
to make the Tea Party pay more time.
Trying to get the Tea Party to pay them. Makes sense. Makes sense. What about this one? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. $200,000 of your money spent. And $26 million on the Selective Service Draft Board. Now, we haven't had a draft since 1973.
That's right.
It's the tip of the iceberg. It's the tip of the iceberg. Your government's out of control. It's lost its way. And they say that earmarks don't matter. Of course they matter. Because for every post office we build here for somebody to place their name on, he has to vote for a bridge to nowhere. It is the udder that steers Everything. Quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You vote for my project, I'll vote for yours. You do this, and we'll give you a project. It's the game they've played for years, and when I say the era of appropriations must end, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Don't let them put words in my mouth. $17 trillion. Do you believe we can continue that spending?
No.
The only vote Senator Cochran should have cast that day was no to the compromise. Obamacare, we fought it. We fought it as hard as we could in court. We did everything we could to defeat it. We just knew we were going to win the fight. But sometimes, Al, as you know, those justices, they throw curveballs. Justice Roberts did what he did. We lost the fight, at least in court. But we should never stop fighting in the legislative branch. Surrender is not the mark of patriots.
No.
The Affordable Care Act, which is neither affordable nor caring, will destroy your economy.
Yes.
It will destroy your budget. It will destroy your health care.
Yes.
So here's the deal. No more parliamentary tricks. No more waiting for the perfect moment to fight. No more press releases. Fight. And fight now. Fight now. The idea that we're going to keep kicking this can down the road and believe that eventually it's going to be impossible to repeal is absurd. We have a responsibility to fight now. Now here's the problem. When Mike Lee and Ted Cruz stood on the floor to fight Obamacare, why were they alone?
That's right.
That's right.
Interesting, isn't it again?
No spine.
No fight, but a press release afterwards. A press release. No fight, but a press release. They fooled us long enough, haven't they?
Yes.
Haven't they? You know, thank the good Lord for social media. Thank the good Lord for computers, because for the first time in a long time, the people have peeked behind the veil, haven't they?
Yes.
And we see it. When will we reclaim our government? When will we begin to reclaim our central government? It is not becoming of the character of the people of this state to beg for scraps from benefactors 1,000 miles away. Let us keep our money in the first place. But instead, the game is this. We send our money to D.C., they take it, they keep a finder's fee, right? Then they give us back in the form of a grant, and we're supposed to be thankful. But they kept a finder's fee. Making matters worse, they attach conditions to the use of the grant. Ladies and gentlemen, economic liberty is just as important as personal liberty.
Yes.
And every dollar they take from you is a dollar of your liberty they have removed from your pocketbook. A dollar of the fruits of your labors. It's just as relevant. It's just as important. It's just as worth defending as personal liberty. Are we going to fight?
Yes.
Are we? Are we? Change is only going to come when we begin to entrust our affairs to those who promise to divest themselves of the power they've been given. It is not the place of Americans to raise rulers up. We do not wish to be ruled, nor to rule.
No.
We wish to be free and left alone to pursue our happiness as we see fit as individuals. So we people, we conservatives, we're not here to streamline government necessarily, are we?
No.
Because we aim to reduce its size.
Yes.
We are not here to promote government welfare programs because we aim to extend freedom. We do not fight to pass new laws, but to repeal existing laws. And we will not implement new programs, but instead cancel those that do violence to our Constitution. This is my promise to you. You see, there's a difference between us and them, the people, and those in the marble halls of Congress. They think the people of this country exist to provide them with position.
No.
They think we exist to provide them with privilege.
No.
But we think their positions exist to protect our God-given rights.
Yes.
I'm no different than you. I was born here in Mississippi. This is where my parents had their honeymoon, here on the coast. It's a special place to us. I'm just up the road a bit. We feel the pain of the coast community every time you hurt. How could we not? I'm calling on you tonight to help me. I need you. I need your spirit, your fight, your prayers. I need your answers to the questions that ail us. I need to be responsive. I need to listen and understand as the instrument of your will. That's my job. Let me remind you, you are stronger than you know. They want you to feel weak. They want you to feel marginalized. They want to place labels on you. Such a fascinating thing, those labels. Why label? Either you believe in the Constitution or you don't. Either you believe in limited government or you don't. Either you believe in liberty or you don't. Why label? There was a time that most Americans believed that, remember? I became a Republican during the presidency of Reagan. I was only a child, but I knew leadership. I was just a boy, but I knew what he was saying provided me comfort and some degree of hope. He based those philosophies not in the might of centralized authority, but in the might of the American people. That is our fight today. That is my fight today. That is your fight today, to reclaim your rightful place in this government. I've always had faith in the people. Every generation has a responsibility. The greatest generation had theirs, certainly. Revolutionary forebearers, they had theirs. This generation has its responsibility too. This election is not about where Mississippi has been. This is not about the port and the projects where we've been. This is a new era. This election is about where Mississippi is going. With a country that is $17 trillion in debt, things have to change. And they have to change immediately for the sake of our children. I have always respected Senator Cochran greatly. You must know that. As a child growing up in the South, particularly Mississippi, we were taught to respect our elders, but also our politicians, were we not? And I did. And I still admire Senator Cochran. This race is not about Senator Cochran. It's about the right thing. It's about the record. My generation has a fight to draw the line in the sand, and we will draw the line in the sand. There are those that are mad at me. They think I'm about to cost my entire political career on a fight. It was never my career. It was your career. It's not my loss. I'm just a guy with a message. You'll either fight for conservatism or you won't. You'll stand with it or you won't. We'll either win or we won't. But it's not my career. It's the people's career. And it's not their seat. One of the most frustrating things about it thus far, and I'm wrapping up, I promise.
Take your time.
One of the most frustrating things about it so far is that I've been attacked by some insiders. Can you imagine?
Arguably, fake conservatives.
What do you suppose they have to lose?
A money train.
Money.
Money train.
So they're going to cut my head off. You hear that?
Yeah.
It's a big head. You see, they believe it's their seat to control, to manipulate, to utilize. It's not the insider's seat. It's not the lobbyist's seat. It's your seat. It's your seat. With apologies to Churchill, which is one of my favorite leaders of last century. Make no mistake about this. If you're looking for someone that's going to go to Washington, D.C. and compromise, I am not your man.
Good.
If you're looking for someone that goes up there just to get along for the cocktail parties and the dinners, I am not your man. I'm going to draw this line in the sand. This is our fight. We're going to fight to the end, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to fight them in academia. We're going to fight them in the classrooms and in the newspapers. We're going to fight them with growing rights and the natural strength and the natural rights of men and women. We're going to defend our way of life, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to fight them in the marble halls of Congress. We'll fight them in the state capitals. We're going to fight them in the cities and the streets. We're going to fight them in the countryside. We shall never surrender.
Yeah.
And if for which I do not for a moment believe that somehow this country and its liberty were somehow subjugated, and the people stood without their liberty, then the people, beyond the halls of power, armed and guided by the Constitution, and a new spirit of resistance, would carry on the struggle until in God's good time, a new beginning with all its power and might steps forth to the rescue and deliberation of the old. This is our fight, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. In closing, we dare not forget today that we are the heirs of that first American Revolution. With that in mind, let the word go forth from this time and place that a new era is dawning. It is time to pass the torch of liberty to a new generation of Mississippians, those shocked by a culture in decline, those burdened by endless wars, disciplined by an unsustainable federal debt, but proud of our heritage and willing to defend that Constitution to which this country has always been committed. It is our responsibility to assure the survival of liberty. This much we pledge. This much we pledge and more. In the long history of the world, only a few generations have ever been given such a golden opportunity. You recognize that, don't you?
Yes.
Defending liberty in its hour of maximum danger. We will not shrink from this responsibility. Indeed, we're going to welcome it. And that begins here today in Mississippi. You see, our state I like that applause. Get used to it, yeah. Our state is strong in ways that arsenals can't measure. Common people, but of good sense, men and women of the soil whose virtues arise from the simplicity of life. We are precisely the kind of creatures that are hated and despised by central planners. Haters of tyranny, lovers of order and liberty, a stubborn people, a proud people indeed, aren't we?
Yes.
I love this state. I love its people. And I believe the rebirth of a republic can begin right here because of the character of our people. And the best part about it, you and I, as Reagan might say, this our rendezvous with destiny. Would you trade places with any other generation?
No.
No. No. None of us. No, come on now. Come on now. Okay, the 1950s were good. I agree.
They were.
Cruising the coast, I like the car.
You like the chorus for Cruising the Coast, do you? Okay, all right. Other than the 1950s. Okay, all right. The point is this. We have an obligation. We're not going to shrink. We're going to fight. We recognize our place in this country's history and the energy and the faith and the devotion that we bring to this fight. You know what? It's going to enlighten everything. It's going to enlighten the state. It's going to enlighten my party. It's going to enlighten the republic. And we're going to save her. We're going to save it. So let's stand and let's lead and let the storms blow. Let the storms blow. Make them hear us. And so I ask for your help, your prayers, your guidance, and support. A good fight. A good fight, our only just reward here. That's guaranteed. But with history as the final judge of our duties and character. Let's go forward and lead this state back. And lead this country back to greatness. The shining city on a hill. Thank you, and God bless you.